Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today we got the VTM. So we did the Ventum Pro. That was really early last year when we first started doing these reviews. We did the Ventum Pro 33. We went with the longer axle, the axle range. So because these bows are so similar, almost identical, the Ventum Pro to the VTM, we went with the shorter axle, the axle, just to give a little bit, we'll try to switch things up from review to view as much as we can, and kind of vary things anywhere where we can. So we'll shoot it a little bit different today with the placement of the stabilizer. We went with the shorter axle, the axle, and so you can get a good gist of both bows. So the Ventum Pro 30 and 33, and the VTM 31 and 34, honestly, the specs are the exact same. The bows are almost the exact same. They did make a couple little variations in the riser, which we'll talk about, but the same cam systems, the same riser, same features. So again, that's why we went with the shorter axle to kind of do a bow comparison. But I was so excited about this bow. I love the Ventum Pro from last year. I got a turkey with it in early season, and then we had to sell it to get more bows in. And I think it's one of the bows that I regretted selling the most of any bow that we've had to purchase and then resell. I wish I would have held on to that Ventum Pro 33 so bad. I loved it. The draw cycle was so smooth, surprisingly just very different from the past of Hoyt. So I'm excited to do this one too. So we got the 31 is what we went with for today. So let's start with the specs. We got 342 on the IBO, 30 and 5/8, almost 31. You got 4.6 pounds. It goes from 25 out to 30. So you got two different mods. One goes from 25 to 28, and then the 3 mod goes from 28 and a half out to 30. And I don't know why the mods are 2 and 3 and there's no 1. I don't know why Hoyt leaves out numbers every once in a while. They never did an RX6, and that always confused the shit out of me, but who knows. So underneath the riser right here, I love this. I don't know why every company doesn't do this. It's so simple. It could be so cheap. They give you that little graph right up underneath there. It tells you which letter placement is which draw length, and man, that's just like, it's so simple. Instead of having to look online, you just have it right there. I love little stuff like that. So the riser, almost virtually the same. A couple of the bridges changed a little bit. One thing that they did change, which I love, and I love little details like this, is they cut out a little hole in the back of that back bar, that signature back bar on Hoyt's, and there's a place for your rest string to kind of go through the riser instead of around it. Obviously not a huge change, but I love stuff like that. You got the Picatinny rail on the front, which I also loved. I used a CBC Trek last year with that carbon RX7, and I had the Picatinny rail adapter, and man, I just loved it. I love the way it's set up. I think if I was going to choose between the Picatinny rail on the Hoyts and the bridge lock on the Matthews, I would go with the rail. I love this, and I love the way that it takes so much off of that sight. So that CBC Trek sight had a lot to it. You take the whole back part off, you put the little adapter on, and then you just have a nice little sight hanging right center lined with your bow. I think that was awesome. I also love this Ultra rest that comes on here with the rail on the back, and it's kind of hidden in between that back part. It's all nice and secure in there. I think, and this is after a whole year of doing this, I think Hoyt makes the best aluminum machined risers on the market. I think you can't get better quality in this. If you watch their video online, they start out with that 10 pounds of aluminum and they machine it down to that 4.6, and you can just tell it is just as solid as you can get. There is so much detail that goes into these risers. It's probably my favorite machined risers on the market. I love the finish on this. I got it with the new color bourbon, so that's the one new color that they added this year. It looked a little bit more mustard when it was online, but once I got it in hand, it kind of had a little brown tint to it, and I'm liking it more and more and more. So one other thing that we'll do to kind of vary from the last review to this year, because the bows are so similar, we got an 8-inch stabilizer down here on the bottom, and we're gonna shoot this off of the bottom. There's a couple different variations, which I love that you have these 2 spots on the stabilizer on these bows, which one, we've seen a couple different companies, Darden and Elite, put that shortstop stabilizer on their Omnia and the Prelude, which I think it's just a great idea. So it's like you're kind of taking and picking from just great ideas out there, and I think that's one that was stolen because it is just a perfectly placed little stabilizer. If I was to take this in the field, I think I would shoot it just like I did the RX7 with the shortstop stabilizer on the bottom and nothing else. But again, to variate from or to have a little variation in reviews, we're gonna shoot it with the longer stabilizer on the bottom. Now you can put this up there, you can kind of switch them around. There's a whole bunch of different positionings. I kind of messed around with them all. And with this bow, I liked it down here. So that's what we'll do the Freestyle Shoot with. I love the grips on these. It looks like they might have changed the detail on the grip just a little bit, but it's that same really, really nice kind of sticky rubber grip. I think it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite grip on the market. It's a little thicker, which I like. Some guys like a real thin grip, but I like the grip of that rubber. Even when your hands or gloves are wet, man, it seems to stick to that really, really nicely. Again, virtually same bow. You got your dampeners, top and bottom. I love the limb pockets. They're nice and wide, secure underneath. They got that hole bored out to prevent those limbs from sliding. I love all the dampeners that come on these Hoyt bows. I like the material that they're made out of. The HBX cams, if you haven't watched my RX7 review and the Ventum Pro 33 review, I loved them. I think it was one of the best decisions Hoyt has made in the past several years. I think those are they're just phenomenal cams. They get great speeds. They're fairly smooth. They hold really, really nice. You know, and then you can let off from 80 to 85. So the only thing that I didn't touch on last time that I think is important, especially after doing so many bows with a self-tuning system, is that you still, you know, this is a shim system. And I will say this, out of all the Hoyt bows that I've gotten, I've only had to order a shim kit maybe one time. And I had to have the bow shop owner help me and kind of figure out, and we had to kind of stack shims. But most of the time, however they come out of the factory, you can get them tuned without having to add or replace or change any of those shims. But that technology is kind of in the past. I feel like everybody else is moving in a different direction, and you got Hoyt, you got Matthews with the top hats that are just kind of staying in this, you know, tuning system where you need a bow shop to kind of assist you. And unless you have a bow press, even then you have to order the kit through the shop, and then you have, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I wonder when they're gonna make that jump. So we're gonna sling a couple inside for that single shot assessment. You know, just from remembering back, the Ventum Pro 33 was extremely smooth. It held really nice. With ease, I think I got a turkey at like 38 yards, you know, right on the top of the chest. I think it was just a great performing bow. And that was one of the first bows I did, and I still remember just how smooth that draw was and how surprising it just held so nicely for me. So I have a feeling with the speed on this, you know, bumped up a little bit shorter brace height. I think the draw cycle might not be as smooth, but I'm expecting it to be kind of maybe more similar to that RX7, which if you watched all my reviews, and that top 5, it was the top 5. It was my #1 on the top 5, and it was there by far. I loved that bow. I got a doe, 4 coyotes. That thing was an absolute sledgehammer, and it held so nicely. One of the cleanest shot cycles. It was a little bit on the louder side, I thought, but man, you could just tell those arrows that came off there were smacking. So I think this will probably be a little similar. Let's go. We'll shoot a couple here, and then we'll step outside for that freestyle shoot. So I got, you know, it's a tough start. But again, I actually prefer it to be a little tougher on the front side, and it's smooth up on the back side. It doesn't smooth up a ton on the back side, but it gets easier as you pull, and then the transition's pretty nice. But it is a tough pull from the beginning. And again, anytime, especially I feel like with Hoyts, and I don't know why I say that with Hoyts, but the first draws on any bow can be really stiff, and then just within a couple shots they'll loosen up. So I think maybe as we shoot this through the rest of the day, that'll loosen up a little bit, but right off of the bat, that is stiff from the beginning, and then it kind of lets back. So if you're looking at your bubble on that level, you can kind of see in shop when you're doing these single shot assessments for yourself, you know, trying to choose from bow to bow and kind of testing your own bows, just check that bubble. You know, I like it, you know, if in a shop you can get a sight put on, or if it does come with one on, then you can really see just how quickly it dials down and if it stays steady for you. Most bow shops will just set it up with a whisker biscuit just so you can fling a couple, but it's kind of hard to tell that stability in a shop, you know, shooting at a 5-yard bag without that bubble on there. So You know, it sets up nice. It has a little jump to it. I would say these are, you know, it has a little jump to your hand, but again, nothing that's not extremely noticeable I don't really care about. I mean, I love a dead in hand feel, but that's not going to determine whether or not I purchase a bow or use a bow or put it in the field. This has a little jump back. It's not necessarily a vibration, it's just kind of a little kickback on your hand. You know, and then you have, so something I was looking and reading about, and I always forget about that speed bow. So you have the Z1S, which is their speed bow. It's a longer axle to axle. You get maybe 8 feet per second. It's $200 more almost. And I can't imagine feeling, I mean, I think it would probably be, again, a little bit harsher, and I think that's why they went with the longer axle, because man, those draw so much smoother than the shorter ones. But I couldn't imagine a Z1S in like the 31 or 30 axle to axle. I think it would just be brutal. But you're not getting too much on the feet per second for their speed bow, and you're getting virtually the same bow. I don't know, I don't think it would be worth it. I'd love to get one in here and test it, but like I can't imagine if you're somebody who likes a more compact bow and wanting those speeds, you know, sacrifice what you prefer and go with that longer axle just to get 8 feet per second. Again, I'm more comfort over speed. This is about right on the top end of comfortability for me. It's a struggle to get this back, or it's not an easy pull. It holds really nicely, just like the two that I shot from last year. But I love the speeds on this 342 on the IBO. We'll run it through. I think all of these have like a tennis ball type serve pop to them, and we'll do that decibel test here in a little bit and kind of see where that range is versus the Era and the Basin that we've already done. But all right, so on to the Freestyle Shoot. We'll shoot a variety of shots, some from up here, kind of shooting downward like you're in a tree stand, from the gazebo shooting across. Different depths, ranges, angles. We'll shoot from all over the yard, and we'll really get after it. We'll put the first ones here on camera for you. I don't have any hesitation about how this thing's gonna shoot. Even before I purchased this bow, you know, they're so similar. Little differences, but I know this thing is going to be probably very similar to the RX7. But we'll shoot a whole bunch anyway. So we'll go bore. We'll go to these bucks. You know, and a question is like, why would a company put out almost the exact same bow with such little changes? I think, and I mentioned this before, but it's really hard to get to the top of any industry, and then to remain at the top, I think one thing that you can't be is stagnant. So they kept the RX7 and the RX7 Ultra this year, which I think was a fantastic idea. Confident move, great product, didn't need to make any changes to it. Allows bow shops to kind of clear inventory. I love when they do that, but they had to make slight changes to this one, you know, to their aluminum riser, call it something different, I think, for a marketing, you know, but they are so similar. Usually you even see a little bit longer axle to axle changes, and they only did it by, you know, three quarters of an inch or something. So let's go bucks. And what I'll do when we get over to the gazebo, I will shut up, I will shoot, and we'll climb that 3D ladder all the way from 20 up to 50. Let's see if we can't lower one. Poke that heart. I love this buck, this Reinhardt kicking buck, quartering away. This is one of my favorite shots. Man, all right, let's get over there. We'll shoot some longer range shots. All right, so we got several targets on this side of the yard, going from 20 all the way up to 50 in 5-yard increments, and we'll just get after it. So we'll go turkey at 20. I think if you are somebody who values quality, you have the ability financially that you don't factor that in. You spend whatever you want to spend. You want quality? You can't get better than this. From the cable guard to the gauge of these cams and mods, some of the most solid, some of my favorite limb pockets like I mentioned before, the best machine riser you can get on the market. Quality, I mean, that's, performance is a whole nother thing, but if you just want the best quality, Hoyt bows right now in 2023 are incredible. That's coyote, and we'll go to that buck at 30. We'll just work our way all the way up to that full draw stall on that little black bear, and we'll go gray wolf at 35. And you can see it takes little to no effort to dial these bows down. This shoots very, very similar to the RX7. The hold, once you get back, it's rock solid. Wherever you place those pins, that's where they want to sit and stay. I mean, it's almost immediate. Let's go black bear at 40. All right, full draw stall, Paddington. If you want to be able to tell if your bow is stable or not, which I'm telling you, these are some of the most stable bows you can get. Full draw stall, hold, and not just hold, but hold as still as you can, like you're in the field with a deer in front of you staring at you. As still as you can for a minute, 90 seconds, 2 minutes if you really want to see, and that'll kind of give some clarity. If you feel like there might be a little bit of instability, I say this, but it'll kind of magnify that. So let's go a little black bear, 1 minute. Speaks for itself. All right, and so I think the second best indicator for stability is out to 50. Just making that jump, even just from 40 to 50, even though it's 10 yards, for some reason, once I get out to 50, that's when you can kind of really start to tell too. So we will shoot multiple shots on that on camera, and then we'll do, that's my favorite thing to shoot on. So we'll shoot at that all day as well. Let's go, we'll go elk at 50 yards. And you can tell, let's try and split these two arrows. You can tell I'm not even, there's little effort. You know, I'm simply drawing, dialing in. I'm talking about within seconds, and I feel comfortable enough to sling one. So let's split these two arrows, get one right in there. Incredible. I'm so glad to have one of these back in house. If I can manage, I'm gonna keep this thing till September. All right, back inside, we'll do our two final tests before we give it the grade. We got a 500 grain and a 440 grain arrow. We will test both of them. The bow is set at 30 inches, 80% let off. We have it all the way maxed out at 70 pounds. We'll see. So we got 342 on the IBO. The way we do our speed test for 2023 is you got 10 feet per second increments all the way up to 300 feet per second, which is the 10 out of 10 or above. So if it gets anywhere between 280 and 289, you get 8 out of 10, 290 and 299, you get a 9 out of 10. So that's 295. So again, we'll shoot 5 shots, and in case it teeters that 300 line, I think it'll probably stay more in the upper 290s. But just in case, we'll take the average out of those 5 shots. That's 291. And again, I tell people this every review, every chronograph varies a little bit. And I think a 10 feet per second range, I think is a good range just to determine how it's gonna factor into the grading and comparable to other bows. So, you know, so I like that we're using now for this 23 season, we're using the specs of the IBO. So really all that we're changing is that arrow grain weight to a realistic arrow. And that's it. And I like that. That's kind of, this is your average hunter setup or arrow weight. And I like that we do it with that instead of that kind of inflated number with an arrow weight that's unrealistic. So 297. So we've kind of stretched across the board in the 290s from 292 out to 297. But I think 294. So I would say mid 290s. I love that speed. I think that is just top tier speed. Perfect hunting speed. I mean, for across the board, for hunting whitetail, and then I'm sure up to big game. That's just a fantastic speed, very versatile speed. Let's go. So we got a 440 grain arrow. That's 307. So it's funny to see because some bows, you drop that arrow weight down and they really can pick up some speed. And then some bows are a little bit more consistent with kind of that online calculator. That's 310. So 307, 310. So well over the 300s for that 440 grain arrow. So awesome. So we're gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for the grade, for the speed, kind of averaging right in there about 295. So, and here is for the guys who are skeptical of everything, and I don't blame you. But we try to be, we try to give an honest depiction of everything. And I've put this thing outside several times. I put the other one outside several times. You got to factor in one, the fucking sun ain't always the same. I'm doing these reviews sometimes in the middle of a snowstorm, other things. I think I'm able to be more consistent with the content I'm giving you by keeping it inside, but just so you can see, we'll set it outside and we'll do a comparison for everybody who is still skeptical. 290. Okay, so, and let's shoot a couple. But what I have seen usually is that it varies very little from inside to outside. That's 294. So again, from outside to inside, even outside, it will vary some. Every shot is not exactly going to be the same. So people are like, well, your chronograph jumps around too much. It's because it's inside. I promise you, I have seen, we have put this outside enough where it will jump around outside, inside, but it will always stay in a very similar feet per second. So let's do one last one. 292. So I think from the inside grade that I was going to give it, I said it was around 295. And we gave it a 9 out of 10. So, and we can do this from time to time and put it outside, inside, just to give you kind of some of those comparisons, but very, very similar, maybe a hair 2-3 feet per second faster inside than it is outside, but still it does vary some, but I like testing everything. So, all right, so what I did was I took the stabilizer off. This is how it would come out of the box. So we kind of reassembled it back to just how you would shoot it with no additional stabilizer or dampening system on there. So we'll do 3 arrows. Again, same specs. We keep everything the exact same, from the speed test to this, same arrows, everything. So up here you can see, and we'll kind of get an average on our phone here where we're running that decibel app, and we'll do three shots. .5, and again, I said this on one of the other reviews, I don't think you, the viewers, are going to be able to see a drastic change from bow to bow, but just keep in mind those, 1 decibel, 1.5 decibel difference. That is huge in the whitetail world or in the hunting world to that animal. So it might not be that significant of a separation here in-house, but you can at least see some variation from bow to bow. But in the animal world, that seems to magnify a lot. 89.4. which that is on the quieter end of the so many bows that we've done already. 91.5. So, all right, Hoyt VTM, I'll tell you right now, I did this review for myself. There was no doubt in my mind how this bow was gonna shoot and perform. I knew, you know, you got the Ventum Pro VTM, all very similar, little bit of differences in the axle to axle, which does change slightly how a bow does feel, but for the most part, they're all the same bow and they're all great quality, great performing bows. This was for me, just to get another one in-house. But we'll go through the whole grading system. So 290, 295, let's say is what I averaged it out to be inside here. So you get the 9 out of 10, it was like 292, 294 outside. So still 9 out of 10 off of the bat. Quality, I think it is the best aluminum bow on the market. 9 out of 10. The only thing on this that I think could get a 10 out of 10 and where you'll see in the grading is going to a carbon. Everything else on this, from the limb pockets, favorite cable guard, cams and mods, solid. Everything is just, again, I said it outside, if you want something that is durable, quality, you don't mind paying for it, this is the bow. I mean, hands down. I think I did put the stabilizer down here for this round so we can vary a little bit from the Ventum Pro I did, but I think still, if I was to put this in my hunting lineup, I would take this off, put that shortstop stabilizer on there. I think it doesn't need anything else. I'd go back to getting a little adapter, or getting the piece that allows you to have that Picatinny rail. I'd get a sight on there. I love this rest. You know, something else I didn't mention earlier, but the quivers for these Hoyts are great too. You can kind of maneuver them up, down, side, just kind of help you counter that weight a little bit and find that perfect good feeling, or that real nice, comfortable feeling for you. But even that, the quivers, top notch, everything, quality. I love that about Hoyt, especially. All of their accessories that are made for their bows are equally as durable and great quality as the bow itself. So you got appeal. I gave it a 10. This is like my favorite style. I absolutely love these ones we're looking, and it's not a Hoyt style, it's just recently. There's plenty of Hoyt bows that I'm like, man, that looks, you know, some of them had some crazy looks to them, but these ones, they are just as sleek. I absolutely love them. I love this new color bourbon. We talk about this. I know it doesn't factor in, but it does. You know, the appearance and the attention to detail that some of these companies go with, I think that is a huge selling factor to most hunters. They love everything to match, the accessories to the bow, to the new colors, the camo to match their camo, everything. I mean, it definitely factors in, and that's why we have it in the grading. But 10 out of 10 for this. This is just as clean and just, this thing is as pretty as you can get. Technology, this is where I kind of slammed it a little bit. If you think about it and where we are going and where some of these bow companies are headed, the shim system with the 2 mods for the draw length, even though you can adjust them, it is a different mod. It is as basic as you can get. I mean, we're kind of sitting in time here. And I keep saying, I wonder when they're gonna change some of that stuff. I do love the new cams that they put on, but the technology, I mean, it's pretty stagnant. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 there, 9 out of 10 per performance. This thing was just equally as solid as that RX7 from last year. I mean, a little bit stiff on the draw, but again, that's just preference. Some guys don't mind that, some guys do. But the bow itself, performance, clean shot cycle, little bit of vibration in your hand, you know, just equal loudness as some of the other bows that we've already seen in here, not drastically one way or the other. And I think overall, I'm dying to put this in the field. I'm dying for a nice big old doe to walk in front of me at 25, 30 yards with this thing in my hands. It shoots missiles. So you got at 44.88, you get the 2 makeup points for the price. It is pushing that 1,500 mark with taxes, but I do think the price is still between 1,000 and 15, so it gets to make up for 2 points, which is a nice solid 90 out of 100. Again, I'm gonna be a little bit more stricter on the performance and the technological side of some of these bows, and that's kind of where you'll see this vary from the Ventum Pro. But this is a whole new year, new grading, new backyard bows. So, but I think this is one of the, I mean, this is no matter what, if this bow's still in house by the time September 15th comes around, it's gonna be in my hand at some point during that season. So, hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, leave us a comment. I love interaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have so much more to come. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook for updates of anything else that we're gonna review. If there's something that you're interested in, hit those links below and check them out. And make sure, no matter what your setup is, what bow you're shooting, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.